Hi, everybody. My name's Josh Kuestersteffen. I'm a software engineer at Medic, and I'm going to talk a little bit about more stuff that is here in 5.2. We previewed some of the features coming last month. 5.2 has been released. It's out. It's in the wild for a couple weeks now. It's ready to upgrade to, and there's just so much packed in there, though. We wanted to take a little bit more time to make sure people were familiar with all of the other different kinds of features that are in 5.2. There's plenty to be taking advantage of there. And I've got a couple different features we're going to go through. So I'll go ahead and start by giving the mic over to Vikrant, one of our contributors here who has built some of these features in 5.2. So go ahead, Vikrant.
Thanks, Josh. So here two is I resolved, and first one is right to left translation. So in basically it is like inside after login, all completely it is from right to left. Okay, but it got left a bit out the login page. So in that what happened like complete from right to left inside it is and then I will share my screen to show how it is and but you can see in slide also but for next demo I will also show. Let me share Chrome. Is it my screen visible?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so here you can see it is now in English, but and before the changes that issue was raised, that time it is all it is supporting many languages, but in that all was left to right at login, but right to left it was left. So like Arabic language, you know, it is from left to right, Arabic, Urdu, like that. So when I click on Arabic, it went from right to left, and it is not like only the substances and elements but also its UI part. As you can see, the password toggle and the text format, all things went from right to left. So this is the first issue that I resolved. And second one is number of households. So let me log in. Okay, so here you can see we are in CHU. So in this, there was no total number of count tag that is beside CHP. So in that, people have to do before manually by counting by hand or manually they had to do. And if list is too long, then it is bit problematic. And so basically, I added the count, but count toggle. So in that, you can see number of household here, and here it appears the total number of count, how many is there. So now manually efforts we don't have to put. It's minor changes, but yeah, it is helping a lot. So that's the both feature. First one is RTL and that I shown you, and second one was number of household counts that is here CHP one also and household one also because it is small on their own, but they remove real friction for the people in using CST every day. Uh, any questions?
Awesome. Thank you, Vikrant. And yeah, exactly. I think that it's one of those like quality of life things that it turns out is pretty easy to implement if we've got somebody like you that can take the time to just go in there and work through the details. But it can add up to being a pretty big deal for the users when they're not having to kind of scroll through a list to count 46 different households, or if even if it's just that that immediate familiarity with the right to left on the login page. Like that's your first experience of the CHT, and it should be one that looks familiar to you. So thank you again for your work there. Sugat, can you take us to the next slide, please? And I'll hand it over to you, Sugat.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. Hey everyone, I'm Sugat and I work as a developer in CHT. And today I'm going to be talking about the newly released CHT data source APIs. They are REST APIs and they are built on top of CHT data source. They're not completely new, but they've been worked on for quite a while now, but they got released in version 5.2. So yeah, you can use them now. So basically, they are REST APIs, and you can access them normally, like you would do with the other endpoints. And yeah, so we've added REST APIs to create and update people, places, and reports, three of the entities. What they'll be useful for is they can be used for external systems. So they'll provide a uniform interface to interact with CHT. Right now, before the release of these REST APIs, there was no uniform way to create people or even report. You'd have to just use the standard CouchDB endpoints, I guess, to create them. But this provides a more uniform approach to the creating or working with those entities. Right now, we have create and update. We're also working on some of the more other CRUD operations like delete as well. So yeah, they'll be coming in the near future. Uh, CSV data source has been out for quite some time. We started with the get endpoints. We used to have get for the same entities, the contacts, person, places, and reports. Now we expanded on them and added the create and update as well. So we're just adding more and more operations on them. So they're quite stable, and we've also documented all of those using the Open API and Swagger documentation. You can find those out in our own documentation site. I've attached them in the presentation itself, but they're available in the doc site. And you have listed the endpoints out which have been added. We've added 6 of them. Creating a person, updating a person, creating a place, update, create a report, and update a report. Now, we've added them as version ones because for backward compatibility and such, so that if we, in the near future, we do have upgrades on them, they are backward compatible and nothing breaks. So yeah, these are the 6 new endpoints that you can use to work with the entities available in the CHT. Yeah, that's about it in brief. And yeah, why this matters is right now in the integration, when working with CHT, when working with interoperability and integration, there was no uniform way of creating these CHT records directly. As someone that worked in interoperability for the first time, I was surprised that we still use SMS workflows to create people. So this eliminates those kind of workflows and creates much more uniform and modern approach to working with entities. Now, it makes it easier basically. And right now, when you create a person, you might have your own schema, but this enforces some kind of contract such that nothing breaks. Like Couch is JSON or no SQL based, so there is no enforcing of schema. But working through these APIs make sure that you always get the same kind of data that you send each time. So yeah, it enforces stability and make sure that the data is consistent. So yeah, these are all about the APIs that are added. Open to any questions.
Thank you, Sugat. Really excited to see these landing in production here. And I just want to kind of echo Daniel's comment from the chat there that, yeah, having access to these kind of APIs really does make putting together integrations much more stable, much more straightforward, and you're not kind of trying to cram unrelated stuff through a different workflow. So really excited to see that coming. Just as a sneak preview, by the way, we mentioned we've got kind of APIs for retrieving, for creating, and for updating. Vikrant is actually working right now on building APIs for deleting persons and places. And so really excited to see that coming through. The idea is to have those delete endpoints also be responsible for being able to kind of clean up the hierarchy below that. So if you get a patient that actually shouldn't exist, we can clean that up and delete all of their records along with that in one go without having to jump into CHT conf and do a whole bunch of kind of manual backend work to get that data cleaned up. So really excited to see that coming soon. That's not in 5.2, but it might be coming soon in 5.3. So get excited there. Next slide, please, Sugat. Just as a quick summary, this is a couple of things we talked about last month. These are now, like I said, live in 5.2. Go check out the docs site, the release notes for more details. We've got collapsible summary cards. Those coming by default out of the box. You can now collapse them. You can configure your contact summary cards if you want them to start out collapsed so that the user has to expand them to see the details in there, as well as we've got UI extensions. So get excited, start building some cool stuff there on the UI extensions side. I won't talk too much more about that right now because we did cover that a lot in the last section or in the last roundup call. You can kind of go look at the recording there, check that out. But yeah, don't forget those are there. Moving right along, next slide, Sugat. Other things coming in 5, actually other things that are here in 5.2, we upgraded our version of Couch to the kind of newly released latest version here. One of the main things that this gave us was some improvements on the indexing speeds for Nouveau. In CHT 5.0, we switched the underlying database technology that we were using for several of our database indexes, particularly the ones around replication, to the kind of cutting edge advanced technology that Couch is working with now in their Nouveau system. And it gave us a lot more speed when a user was trying to replicate documents. All of the calculations that the server does to figure out which documents to send them were sped up a lot by switching to these Nouveau indexes. What's coming now in 5.2, what's here with the new version of Couch, is the actual speed of building those Nouveau indexes on the server has improved by 60%. So as you're doing an upgrade, you're going to see that those indexes building a lot faster, and we'll be able to kind of deliver that functionality sooner. In the future, if we make changes to these indexes, the rebuilds are going to be that much faster and just really being more efficient with the server-side resources. What's kind of exciting about this too is this is something we worked kind of back and forth with the Couch team. There was some performance to be gained there, and some changes that they made in some of the Couch stuff we were able to identify as being really negative on the performance side, and we were reporting that to the Couch team and kind of working with them to make sure that the performance was actually, instead of made worse, it may end up being 60% better. So that's definitely the outcome we were hoping for, and really excited to be able to work with them and deliver this kind of performance improvement here. Along with that, we've been doing a lot of focus on replication success, replication failure at the user by user level. There's been some pretty intensive investigations going on some of the production boxes regarding users that are having trouble replicating. And we've talked with a lot of partners about this and been working with them to try to identify users for them. And just because of the offline first nature of the CHT, it's not always immediately obvious who's successfully replicated, who hasn't successfully replicated, kind of what the stage of the data is in there. And so we've added some additional logging into the CHT server so that it's doing more tracking on who's replicated, which replications failed. Maybe it took too long and the server just timed out because you've got a user that's misconfigured and it's trying to download 1 million documents to their device or something. Now, not only do we kind of have logging on the server side to be able to capture that information and store it so that the server knows about these users, but we've got new endpoints there that are going to be useful for administrators to be able to go out, look up data about which users are actually failing to replicate. You can see some details then about what's going on there, how often they've been trying to replicate, and be able to really start to pinpoint the problem spaces there. There's more to come in this space. Definitely lots of conversations around enabling enough data to be able to build some kind of replication dashboards and that kind of thing. But I think we're off to a very good start here, both on the kind of data collection and logging side, and then on these kind of initial endpoints to be able to help administrators dial in on where the biggest problems are in their system. So really excited to see those coming through. Take us to the next one, Sugat, please. Searchable tasks. Last but not least, for sure. And this is another one of those kind of UI evolutions in the CHT that feels so obvious when you use it, but it's been a long time coming, and it is finally here. All we did was we added a search bar at the top where you can kind of filter your tasks. And I'm going to go and demo it real quick because it's just so satisfying to see, but it really is that simple. There's nothing advanced you've got to configure here. Your users see the search bar same as they do with everything else, and it just works. But it's 100% an improvement on scrolling endlessly through a list of tasks. So for example, if I jump in here, I've got a user, I've got a ton of tasks in here. I can just hit my search box and I can filter by all kinds of things. So maybe I can filter by the type of task if I really want to. If I type in PNC, right, then all I'm seeing in here is these PNC tasks. I can filter by the location. I got all these different locations that start with lake. That pulls through. I can also just filter by name. It's all just free text search filtering, same as if you're searching contacts or reports coming through, but it really is searching across all of the different task properties there. It also just stacks with the rest of your task filtering over here, right? So maybe I want to go ahead and just filter not only by name, but I'm going to just say only show me the PNC danger sign follow-up. And you can see not only am I filtering free text, I'm filtering by that type as well. Just everything kind of working like you expect it to. If you back out of here, you can come back and just see all of the tasks of that type, clear the filters, and you're back to seeing all your tasks. Nothing fancy, but super clean, very nice. But no, I see you've got a question here. Do you want to come off mute and ask that one?
Yeah, thanks, because I like this feature. And we have like a task filtering, and then now task search, and it looks like we can design the app in such a way that we can have a large number of tasks. We always wanted to avoid that before, but for performance reasons or any other reasons, is there like a upper limit, like we should not exceed that many number of tasks? Is there any such thing?
That's a really good question. I wish Diana was here to give you a better answer. I would say two things on that one. One is the performance impacts of having a lot of tasks are kind of the same impacts that you get with the rest of the data that has to be loaded by the user on the device, right? So there's a difference between maybe 100 tasks and 100,000 tasks. And it's that kind of scaling that's where you're going to start seeing the performance problems. The other half of that too is it's you know, the number of users on the server side, it's the number of user tasks times the number of users you have. So you've got maybe a growth curve on the server. I would recommend, I don't think that these features affect the performance profile of tasks in any way. This is purely kind of UX filtering. And so from that regard, I would still say scoping the tasks to what's actually relevant remains important. And then the same goes for kind of a conceptual, what do we recommend in terms of task configuration. The challenge of having too many tasks, in my opinion, you do start to leave the user with less value in actually having those tasks. I think if a user's got 200 tasks, you know, it's kind of like my email inbox, right? If I've got 200 emails in my inbox, I'm less likely to read any of them than if I've got 2 emails in my inbox. And so it's kind of the idea of you know, when you're configuring your CHT deployment, how do you want to use tasks? What's the purpose of them? Is the idea to surface kind of the most relevant information that the user needs to know that day? You know, what are the 4 things they need to do that day? Or is this more of a kind of a long running to-do list kind of chain of things that just need to be chipped away at gradually? I think the task model in the CHT supports both of those. It's just where performance is concerned, a question of kind of scale. If you start blowing out the number of tasks to hundreds and then to thousands per user, it's going to have the same kind of impact as anything else like that on the system. Does that answer your question, Binod?
Yeah, I think like we need to test it on the device, that matches the user's device specifications, and see for ourselves. Thanks.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions on searchable tasks or the other things that I presented here?
Yeah, on the replication logs and the failing users, you mentioned that the dashboards can be built on that, but any plans to add it to the app management or the admin page? It looks like it would be really useful there.
Yeah, that's a great question there. Short answer is there's kind of no plans in motion right now. Part of the reason there is I think some of the conversations we've had with partners about it, it was actually the other offline users. So like a supervisor was the profile that they were targeting, so that that supervisor could see whether the CHWs that they supervise are able to replicate or not. And so a supervisor is not typically going to have access to the admin the app management side. They're probably going to be an offline user as well. So that was kind of where the conversation is now. I don't know if this is going to be the kind of thing that ends up in the web app, or if it's going to be maybe something that's more of an opportunity to do with a UI extension, perhaps. But yeah, I think the conversation's still very much ongoing. If people are interested in building something here, if they're interested in or have ideas on what's going to be most useful, yeah, take it, start a thread out there on the forum, and let's keep it going, because yeah, I think we're doing a good job putting together the data now, and we're starting to be able to break down some of that on these endpoints and into useful slices. And now comes the next phase of it, right? Of how can we surface this information in the most useful way to the right people.
Thanks, sir.
Awesome. Great stuff here. Sugat, can you just take me 2 more slides forwards and I'll close this out. 5.2, we've been talking about 5.2, and the just wanted to, before I end, thank everybody that was involved there. We had, I think, 30 different contributors building stuff in this release. It took us a while to get it out. Don't expect it's going to take us that long to get 5.3 out. We're already actively working on that release and have some plans for what's coming there. But yeah, just wanted to end with a huge shout out to the 30 different community members, medic teammates, and everybody else that was involved in really getting all of this awesome functionality to the community. So thank you, everybody. And Anthony, back over to you.
All right, thanks, Josh. Sugat, could we go back to the previous slide? Or we don't have the slide for the contributors, which is still okay.
That's what happens when I edit the slide deck in the middle of the presentation. Sorry.
No worries. Any pending question? I saw a comment from Santosh on API endpoints. Santosh, would you like just to voice that in a minute?
Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I think previously we worked for the API integration for CHT and OpenMRS. So we faced some of the issues there, and I think this API endpoint that has been just shown, I think that will help in figuring out the integration with OpenMRS, and as well as with other external system as well. And for me, this looks really exciting, and looking forward for this. Yeah, I don't have any questions. It was exciting.
All right. Thanks for those wonderful comments. We are looking forward to hearing more about that interoperability work. Just to echo what Josh has mentioned, we celebrate the contributors who were able to push some technical contribution to 5.2. We are proud of you. And coincidentally, Vikrant, Clifton, most of the presenters who presented today contributed also to that version. So we are so proud of you. And thank you so much for contributing to the community. Thank you for your time and participation. Wishing you well the rest of the day and evening. Hope to see you again in our next event. Thank you and bye.